We now present tonight's presentation. Here is Jerry Oshinsky.
Thank you, Richard. Good evening, everyone. This is our this week's reading by our friends, for our friends out there in the theatrical universe. Tonight's show will be a potpourri of four distinct and hopefully interesting acts. We lead off with the brilliant Ed Giron, who will present Edgar Allan Poe's 1842, The Masque of the Red Death, with relevance to today, which you will see. Following that, Ed puts on his director's hat and directs Sure Thing by David Ives, featuring my grandson, Jack Oshinsky, and our friend Hazel Brady of various performance venues, including City College and others. Following that, we have two of our favorite actors who are on the road from New Mexico and Colorado. We feature Swan and Ming Holden in Fastest Way to a Woman's Heart, written by our own Ed Giron. So we move Ed from acting to directing to writing, and then actually direct. The director of The Fastest Way to a Woman's Heart is our good friend Michael Rosado from Washington, D.C. So we bring in Washington, Colorado, New Mexico, California, and probably other venues that I've forgotten. Finally, after Sean and Ming present The Fastest Way to a Woman's Heart, we then turn to our final show, in which the magnificent Carol Metcalf joins me in reprising a little show that we did about 10 years ago called A Singular Kind of Guy, also written by David Ives and also directed by the wonderful Michael Rosado from Washington, D.C. Through the wonders of Zoom, we unite all these geographic locales, and putting it all together for us is our great production manager, Richard Dugan. Everything you see in all of these shows, the tech, the music, the openings, the closings, it's all Richard. He is our indispensable man. So with that, I think we are ready to take it away to Ed Giron and the Masque of the Red Death.
Ed?
The Red Death had long devastated the country. No pestilence had ever been so fatal or so hideous. Blood was its avatar and its seal, the redness and the horror of blood. There were sharp pains and sudden dizziness, and then profuse bleeding at the pores with dissolution. The scarlet stains upon the body, and especially upon the face of the victim, were the pest ban which shut him out from the aid and from the sympathy of his fellow men. And the whole seizure, progress, and termination of the disease were the incidents of half an hour. But the Prince Prospero was happy and dauntless and sagacious. When his dominions were half depopulated, he summoned to his presence 1,000 hale and light-hearted friends from among the knights and dames of his courts, and with these he retired to the deep seclusion of one of his castellated abbeys. This was an extensive and magnificent structure, the creation of the prince's own eccentric yet august taste. A strong and lofty wall girdled it in. This wall had gates of iron. The courtiers, having entered, brought furnaces and massy hammers and welded the boats. They resolved to leave means neither of ingress nor egress to the sudden impulses of despair or of frenzy from within. The abbey was amply provisioned. With such precautions, the courtiers might bid defiance to contagion. The external world could take care of itself. In the meantime, it was folly to grieve or to think. The prince had provided all the appliances of pleasure. There were buffoons, there were improvisatori, there were ballet dancers, there were musicians, there was beauty, there was wine. All these and security were within. Without was the Red Death. It was toward the close of the 5th or 6th month of his seclusion, and while the pestilence raged most furiously abroad, that the Prince Prospero entertained his 1,000 friends at a masked ball of the most unusual magnificence. It was a voluptuous scene, this masquerade. But first, let me tell you of the rooms in which it was held. There were 7, an imperial suite. In many palaces, however, such suites form a long and straight vista, while the folding doors slide back nearly to the walls on either hand, so that the view of the whole extent is scarcely impeded. Here the case was very different, as might have been expected from the Duke's love of the bizarre. The apartments were so irregularly disposed that the vision embraced but little more than one at a time. There was a sharp turn at every 20 or 30 yards, and at each turn, a novel effect. To the right and the left, in the middle of each wall, a tall and narrow Gothic window looked out upon a closed corridor, which pursued the windings of the suite. These windows were of stained glass, whose color varied in accordance with the prevailing hue of the decorations of the chamber into which it opened. That at the eastern extremity was hung, for example, in blue, and vividly blue were its windows. The second chamber was purple in its ornaments and its tapestries, and here the panes were purple. The third was green throughout, and so were the casements. The fourth was furnished and lightened with orange. The fifth was white. The sixth was violet. The 7th apartment was closely shrouded in black velvet tapestries that hung all over the ceiling and down the walls, falling in heavy folds upon a carpet of the same material and hue. But in this chamber only, the color of the windows failed to correspond with the decorations. The panes here were scarlet, a deep blood color. Now, in no one of the 7 apartments was there any lamp or candelabrum, amid the profusion of golden ornaments that lay scattered to and fro or depended from the roof. There was no light of any kind emanating from lamp or candle within the suite of chambers. But in the corridors that followed the suite, there stood, opposite to each window, a heavy tripod, bearing a brazier of fire that projected its rays through the tinted glass, and so glaringly illumined the room. And thus were produced a multitude of gaudy and fantastic appearances. But in the western or black chamber, the effect of the firelight that streamed upon the dark hangings through the blood-tinted panes was ghastly in the extreme, and produced so wild a look upon the countenances of those who entered, that there were few of the company bold enough to set foot within its precincts at all. It was in this apartment also that there stood against the western wall a gigantic clock of ebony. Its pendulum swung to and
You know
fro
what,
with a
Shauna?
dull, heavy, monotonous clang, and the minute hand made the circuit of the face, and the hour was to be stricken. There came from the brazen lungs of the clock a sound which was clear and loud and deep and exceedingly musical, but of so peculiar a note and emphasis that at each lapse of an hour, the musicians of the orchestra were constrained to pause momentarily in their performance to hearken to the sound. And thus the waltzers perforce ceased their evolutions, and there was a brief disconcert of the whole gay company. And while the chimes of the clock yet rang, it was observed that the giddiest grew pale, and the more aged and sedate passed their hands over their brows, as if in confused reverie or meditation. But when the echoes had fully ceased, a light laughter at once pervaded the assembly. The musicians looked at each other and smiled, as if at their own nervousness and folly, and made whispering vows, each to the other, that the next chiming of the clock should produce in them no similar emotion. And then, after the lapse of 60 minutes, which embrace 3,600 seconds of time that flies, there came yet another chiming of the clock, and there were the same disconcert and tremulousness and meditation as before. But in spite of these things, it was a gay and magnificent revel. The tastes of the Duke were peculiar. He had a fine eye for colors and effects. He disregarded the decora of mere fashion. His plans were bold and fiery, and his conceptions glowed with barbaric luster. There are some who would have thought him mad. His followers felt that he was not. It was necessary to see and hear and touch him to be sure that he was not. He had directed in great part the movable embellishments of the seven chambers upon occasion of this great fete, and it was his own guiding taste which had given character to the masqueraders. Be sure they were grotesque. There were much glare and glitter in the piquancy and phantasm, much of what has been seen since in Hernani. There were arabesque figures with unsuited limbs and appointments. There were delirious fancies, such as the madman fashions. There were much of the beautiful, much of the wanton, much of the bizarre, something of the terrible, and not a little of that which might have excited disgusts. To and fro in the seven chambers there stalked, in fact, a multitude of dreams, and these, the dreams, writhed in and about, taking hue from the rooms and causing the wild music of the orchestra to seem as the echo of their steps. And anon there strikes the ebony clock which stands in the hall of the velvet, and then for a moment all is still, and all is silent, save the voice of the clock. The dreams are stiff frozen as they stand, but the echoes of the chime die away. They have endured but an instant, and a light, half-subdued laughter floats after them as they depart. And now again the music swells, and the dreams live and writhe to and fro, more merrily than ever, taking hue from the many tinted windows through which stream the rays from the tripods. But to the chamber which lies most westwardly of the seven, there are now none of the maskers who venture, for the night is waning away, and there flows a ruddier light through the blood-colored panes, and the blackness of the sable drapery appalls, and to him whose foot falls upon the sable carpet there comes from the near clock of ebony a muffled peal more solemnly emphatic than any which reaches their ears who indulge in the more remote gaieties of the other apartments. But these other apartments were densely crowded, and in them beat feverishly the heart of life, and the revel went whirlingly on, until at length there commenced the sounding of midnight upon the clock. And then the music ceased, as I have told, and the evolutions of the waltzers were quieted, and there was an uneasy cessation of all things as before. But now there were 12 strokes to be sounded by the bell of the clock, and thus it happened perhaps that more of thought crept with more of time into the meditations of the thoughtful among those who reveled. And thus, too, it happened perhaps that before the last echoes of the last chime had utterly sunk into silence, there were many individuals in the crowd who had found leisure to become aware of the presence of a masked figure, which had arrested the attention of no single individual before. And the rumor of this new presence having spread itself whisperingly around, there arose at length from the whole company a buzz or murmur expressive of disapprobation and surprise. Then finally, of terror, of horror, of disgust. In an assembly of phantasms, such as I have painted, it may well be supposed that no ordinary appearance could have excited such sensation. In truth, the masquerade license of the night was nearly unlimited. But the figure in question had out-Heroded Herod and gone beyond the bounds of even the prince's indefinite decorum. There are chords in the hearts of the most reckless which cannot be touched without emotion, even with the utterly lost to whom life and death are equally jests. There are matters of which no jest can be made. The whole company indeed seemed now deeply to feel that in the costume and bearing of the stranger, neither wit nor propriety existed. The figure was tall and gaunt, and shrouded from head to toe in the habiliments of the grave. The mask, which concealed the visage, was made so nearly to resemble the countenance of a stiffened corpse that the closest scrutiny must have had difficulty in detecting the cheat. And yet all this might have been endured, if not approved, by the mad revelers around. But the mummer had gone so far as to assume the type of the Red Death. His vesture was dabbled in blood, and his broad brow, with all the features of the face, was besprinkled with the scarlet horror. When the eyes of the Prince Prospero fell upon the spectral image, which, with a slow and solemn movement, as if more fully to sustain its role, stalked to and fro among the waltzers, he was seen to be convulsed in the first moment with a strong shudder either of terror or distaste.
Where is this?
Next, his brow reddened with rage. "Who dares," he demanded hoarsely of the courtiers who stood near him, "who dares insult us with his blasphemous mockery? Seize him and unmask him, that we may know whom we have to hang at
From the
sunrise."
holiday story thing?
Yeah. You
It
read
was
it.
in the eastern or blue chamber, in
Yeah.
which stood the Prince Prospero as he uttered these words. They rang throughout the 7 rooms loudly and clearly. For the prince was a bold and robust man, and the music had become hushed at the waving of his hand. It was in the blue room where stood the prince, with a group of pale courtiers by his side. At first, as he spoke, there was a slight rushing movement of this group in the direction of the intruder, who at the moment was also near at hand, and now, with deliberate and stately step, made closer approach to the speaker. But from a certain nameless awe with which the mad assumptions of the mummer had inspired the whole party, there were found none who put forth hand to seize him, so that unimpeded he passed within a yard of the prince's person. And while the vast assembly, as if with one impulse, shrank from the centers of the room to the walls, he made his way uninterruptedly, but with the same solemn and measured step which had distinguished him from the first. Through the blue chamber to the purple, through the purple to the green to the orange, and this again to the white, and even thence to the violet, ere a decided movement had been made to arrest him. It was then, however, that the Prince Prospero, maddening with rage and the shame of his own momentary cowardice, rushed hurriedly through the 6 chambers, while none followed him on account of a deadly terror that seized upon all. He bore aloft a drawn dagger, and approached in rapid impetuosity to within 3 or 4 feet of the retreating figure, when the latter, having attained the extremity of the velvet apartment, turned suddenly and confronted the pursuer. There was a sharp cry, and the dagger dropped, gleaming upon the sable carpet, upon which instantly afterward fell prostrate in death the Prince Prospero. Then, summoning the wild courage of despair, a throng of the revelers at once threw themselves into the black apartment, and seizing the mummer, whose tall figure stood erect and motionless within the shadow of the ebony clock, gasped in unutterable horror at finding the grave cerements and corpse-like mask which they handled with so violent a rudeness, untenanted by any tangible form. And now was acknowledged the presence of the Red Death. He had come like a thief in the night, and one by one dropped the revelers in the blood-bedewed halls of their revel, and died each in the despairing posture of his fall. And the life of the ebony clock went out with that of the last of the gay, and the flames of the tripods expired, and darkness and decay and the Red Death held illimitable dominion over all.
Picture that. Yeah, you can see.
Excuse me, is this chair taken?
Excuse me?
Is this taken?
Oh, yes, it is.
Oh, sorry.
Sure thing.
Excuse me, is this chair taken?
Excuse me?
Is this taken?
No, but I'm expecting somebody in a minute.
Oh, thanks anyway.
Sure thing.
Excuse me, is this chair taken?
No, but I'm expecting somebody very shortly.
Would you mind if I sit here until it comes?
They do seem to be pretty late.
You never know what you might be turning down.
Sorry. Nice try, though.
Sure thing. Is this seat taken?
No, it's not.
Would you mind if I sit here?
Yes, I would.
Is this chair taken?
No, it's not.
Would you mind if I sit here?
No, go ahead.
Thanks. Every place else seems to be taken.
Mm-hmm.
Great place.
Mm-hmm.
What's the book?
I just wanted to read in quiet, if you don't mind.
No, sure thing. Every place else seems to be taken.
Mm-hmm.
Great place for reading.
Yes, I like it.
What's the book?
The Sound and the Fury.
Oh, Hemingway.
That's just, I don't know. You're just reading.
What's the book?
The Sound and the Fury.
Oh, Faulkner.
Have you read it?
Not actually. I've sure read about it, though. It's supposed to be great.
It is great.
I hear it's great. Waiter? What's the book?
The Sound and the Fury.
Oh, Faulkner.
Have you read it?
I'm a Mets fan myself.
Have you read it?
Yeah, I read it in college.
Oh, where was college?
I went to Oral Roberts University.
Where was college?
I was lying. I never really went to college. I just like to party.
Where was college?
Harvard.
Do you like Faulkner?
I love Faulkner. I spent a whole winter reading him once.
I've just started.
I was so excited after 10 pages that I went out and bought everything else he wrote. One of the greatest reading experiences of my life. I mean, all that incredible psychological understanding, page after page of gorgeous prose, his profound grasp on the mystery of time and human existence, the smells of the earth. What do you think?
I think it's pretty boring.
What's the book?
The Sound and the Fury.
Oh, Faulkner.
Oh, do you like Faulkner?
I love Faulkner.
He's incredible.
I spent a whole winter reading him once.
I was so excited after 10 pages that I went and bought everything else he wrote.
All that incredible psychological understanding.
And the prose is gorgeous.
And the way he's grasped the mystery of time.
Human existence. I can't believe I've waited this long to read him.
You never know. You might not have liked him before.
That's true.
You might not have been ready for him. You have to hit these things at the right moment, or it's no good.
That's happened to me.
It's all in the timing. My name's Bill, by the way.
I'm Betty.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes, I thought reading Faulkner was a great experience.
Yes.
The Sound and the Fury.
Well, onwards and upwards.
Waiter. You have to hit these things at the right moment, or it's no good.
That's happened to me.
It's all in the timing. My name's Bill, by the way.
I'm Betty.
Hi.
Hi.
Did you come here a lot?
Actually, I'm just in town for a few days from Pakistan.
Oh. Pakistan. My name's Bill, by the way.
I'm Betty.
Hi.
Hi.
Did you come in here a lot?
Every once in a while. Do you?
Not so much anymore. Not as much as I used to. It's before my nervous breakdown. Did you come in here a lot?
Why are you asking?
Just interested?
Are you really interested, or do you just want to pick me up?
No, I'm really interested.
Why would you be interested in whether I come in here a lot?
I'm just getting acquainted.
Maybe you're only interested for the sake of making small talk long enough to ask me back to your place, to listen to some music, or because you've got some terrific unknown Django Reinhardt record. Only all you really want to do is fuck, which you won't do very well, after which you'll go into the bathroom and pee very loudly, then pad into the kitchen and get yourself a beer from the refrigerator without asking me whether I'd like anything. And then you'll proceed to lie back down beside me and confess that you got a girlfriend named Stephanie, who's away at medical school in Belgium for a year, and that you've been involved with her off and on in what you'd call a very intricate relationship for the past 7 years. None of which interests me, mister.
Okay. Do you come in here a lot?
Every other day, I think.
I come in here quite a lot, and I don't remember seeing you.
I guess we must be on different schedules.
Misconnections.
Yes, different time zones.
Amazing how you can live right next door to somebody in this town. You never even know it.
I know.
City life.
It's crazy.
Probably pass each other in the street every day, right in front of this place. Probably.
Yep.
Well, the waiters here sure seem to be in some different time zone. I can't locate one anywhere. Waiter? So what do you...
I beg pardon?
Nothing, sorry.
I guess we must be on different schedules.
Misconnections.
Yes, different time zones.
Amazing, I can live right next door to somebody in this town. You never even know it.
I know.
City life.
It's crazy.
You weren't waiting for somebody when I came in, were you?
Actually, I was.
Oh. Boyfriend?
Sort of.
What's a sort of boyfriend?
My husband.
Aha. You weren't waiting for somebody when I came in, were you?
Actually, I was.
Oh, boyfriend?
Sort of.
What's a sort of boyfriend?
We were meeting here to break up.
Mm-hmm. What's a sort of boyfriend?
My lover. Well, here she comes now.
You weren't waiting for somebody when I came in, were you?
No, just reading.
Sort of a sad occupation for a Friday night, isn't it? Reading here all by yourself?
You think so?
Well, sure. I mean, what's a good-looking woman like you doing out alone on a Friday night?
Trying to keep away from lines like that.
No, listen. You weren't waiting for somebody when I came in here, were you?
No, just reading.
Sort of a sad occupation for a Friday night, isn't it? Reading here all by yourself?
I guess it is, in a way.
What's a good-looking woman like you doing out alone on a Friday night anyway? No offense, but...
I'm out alone on a Friday night for the first time in a very long time.
Oh.
You see, I just ended a relationship.
Oh.
A rather long-standing.
I'm sorry. Well, listen. Since reading by yourself is such a sad occupation for a Friday night, would you like to go elsewhere?
No,
Do something else?
no thanks.
I was headed to the movies in a while anyway.
I think so.
Big chance let Faulkner catch his breath. All those long sentences get him pretty tired.
Thanks anyway.
Okay,
I appreciate the invitation.
sure thing. You weren't waiting for somebody when I came in, were you?
No, just reading.
Sort of a sad occupation for a Friday night, isn't it? Reading here all by yourself?
I guess I was trying to think of it as existentially romantic, you know, cappuccino, great literature, rainy night.
That only works in Paris. We could hop on the late plane to Paris, get on an Airbus, find a cafe.
I'm a little short on plane fare tonight.
Darn it. So am I.
To tell you the truth, I was headed to the movies after I finished this section. Would you like to come along? Since you can't find a waiter.
That's a very nice offer, but
Uh-huh. Girlfriend?
two, actually. One of them's pregnant, and Stephanie.
Girlfriend?
No, I don't have a girlfriend. Not if you mean that castrating bitch I dumped last night.
Girlfriend?
Sort of. Sort of.
What's a sport of girlfriend?
My mother. I just ended a relationship, actually,
Oh,
of rather long standing.
I'm sorry to hear it.
This is my first night out alone in a long time. I feel a little bit at sea, to tell you the truth.
So you didn't stop to talk because you're a Moonie or you have some weird political affiliation?
Nope. Straight down the ticket Republican. Straight down the ticket Democrat. Can I tell you something about politics? I like to think of myself as a citizen of the universe. I'm unaffiliated.
Oh, that's a relief. So am I.
I vote my beliefs.
Labels are not important.
Labels are not important. Exactly. Take me. For example, I mean, what does it matter if I had a 2-point at 3-point at 4-point at college, or if I did come from Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Westchester County?
Sure.
I believe a man is what he is. A person is what he is. A person is what they are.
I think so too.
So what if I admire Trotsky? So what if I once had total body liposuction? So what if I don't have a penis? So what if I spent a year in the Peace Corps? I was acting on my convictions.
Sure.
You can't hang a sign on a person.
Absolutely. I bet you're a Scorpio. Listen, I was headed to the movies after I finished this section. Would you like to come along?
That sounds like fun. What's playing?
A couple of really early Woody Allen movies.
Oh,
You don't like Woody Allen,
sure, I like Woody Allen.
but you're not crazy about Woody Allen.
Those early ones kind of get on my nerves.
Uh-huh.
You know, I was headed to the...
I was thinking about...
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that I was headed to the movies in a little while, and
Hi,
the Woody Allen Festival.
just up the street.
Do you like the early ones?
I think anybody who doesn't ought to be run off the planet.
How many times have you seen Bananas?
8 times.
12. So, are you still interested?
Do you like Antonym's crumb cake?
Last night, I went out at 2 a.m. to get one. Did you have an Etch-a-Sketch as a child?
Yes. And do you like Brussels sprouts?
No, I think they're disgusting.
They are disgusting.
Do you still believe in marriage in spite of the current sentiments against it?
Yes.
And children?
3 of them.
2 girls and a boy.
Harvard, Vassar, and Brown.
And will you love me?
Yes.
And cherish me forever?
Yes.
Do you still want to go to the movies?
Sure thing.
Waiter?
Sure.
Fastest Way to a Woman's Heart by Edward Giron. The setting, Zoe's apartment and a part of the kitchen and the dining area. At Rise, Zoe is bustling about the kitchen area as she cuts vegetables, reads recipes, and arranges different bottles of spice.
Hi. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Hi.
Oh, that's okay.
Right
I
here.
know. Yes, so am I. I'm glad to be here.
To see you in person. I'm so glad we can meet like this, Roger.
Oh, so am I.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever known a Roger before. In fact, I know I haven't. Have you ever met a Zoe?
Oh, let me see. Oh, well, yes, I did know one Zoe. She was a dog, though.
That's not nice.
Oh, no, really, she was a dog. A small dog. 4 legs.
Oh.
Cute. Really cute.
Got it. I see. Okay. So, but never a person.
No, you're the first. And to celebrate our first meeting, let's open this bottle of wine, huh?
Sounds lovely. Well, I just started making dinner, but we've got time for one glass before I get back to the kitchen.
Okay.
We better hurry though.
Sure.
Here.
Thank you. Ah. Ow. Ah.
You okay?
Oh, I'm fine. No worries.
You need a Band-Aid? You've cut yourself.
No, it's barely bleeding.
I'm me offering a doctor a bandage.
Yes, ironic, right?
So, what kind of doctor are you?
I'm midway through my residency in cardiology.
Oh, you must know the fastest way to a woman's heart.
Through the left fourth intercostal space using a number 10 blade. Cheers.
Cheers.
Zoe gets up and goes to the kitchen and reads her recipes again.
Can I help?
No, this is my department. Ouch. I promised I'd make you dinner, and so I shall.
Oh, great. And thanks so much for doing this. But let me know if I can help you, though.
All right, you've got yourself a deal. You know, I am from a town of just 621 people in South Dakota, and even there, no woman would ever bring a guy home on a first date. That is just not even, for dinner. My mom would kill me.
Well, I'm honored, really.
I think I should probably just come out and tell you this. You know what made me invite you here tonight, Roger?
Well, I don't want to give the wrong answer before I've had dinner.
Well, it was what you said about the importance of home to you. That really touched me, and because I want to find a man who shares my same values, and I haven't had an easy time finding that. And a man who loves the sense of home the way that I do, and a man who doesn't mind having the man's role at home. That's what I want. And I wanted not to mind, like someone who can fix things, somebody who can fix something like a burned out light bulb, perhaps, or use a drill type thing, or do some wiring, clean off the top of the stove when it's necessary, maybe do a couple odd jobs around the house, change the clocks with the time change. That's That's the perfect kind of man for me. Just because I've become a CPA doesn't mean that I want to be the one balancing the household finances or taking out the trash or putting up the Christmas lights. I want a man who does all that willingly.
That sounds like a great guy, all right.
Well, when you said you believe in pulling your weight around the house, that was such a breath of fresh air to me. I couldn't believe it. Some men think that career is everything, and that just doesn't make a house a home. Oh, I'm scaring you. I'm sorry. I know this is the first time we met. It's our first date, and believe me, I'm into taking things slow. I just want you to know that you convinced me, that you weren't a waste of time and a genuinely nice guy, Roger. It's traditional values, and that's why I invited you to meet at my place. So many of these guys online, they're not interested in anything but dating for sex, and you were very sincere about wanting a relationship. I have no desire to rush into one, believe me, that's for sure. So don't let me scare you.
That is true. I'm looking for a relationship. It's not easy for me to meet anyone with my residency schedule. I'm either at the hospital or trying to sleep.
Okay, so I've planned the perfect traditional date.
Oh.
I'm making dinner, and here's a list of things you can do around the house.
It might be better if we talked and got to know each other.
Believes more in about, actions than words. And there's no faster way to a woman's heart than acts of service. So let's give this a try, shall we? It could be fun. And I'll show you that I'm the woman I said I was. And you can show me that you're the man you said you were.
Sure, why not? Okay, first item on the list is a leaking faucet in the guest bathroom.
Yes, and what you should do is make sure that you don't have anything fall into the drain when you're working, and you should make sure not to put any of the tools on the counter because it could damage the countertop. The tools are in the cabinet under the sink.
Okay, where's the bathroom?
It's a small apartment, can't miss it.
God damn it!
You okay?
Fine.
Okay. I'll be in the kitchen.
Gary? Hello, Gary. Hi, I'm glad you're there. Listen, I have a plumbing problem. I can't get the water to stop running. I can't call a plumber. I'll explain later. I tried that. The valve under the sink where the water's running, right? I tried that both ways. Nothing happened. I'm afraid the sink is going to overflow.
That's funny. Yeah, on dates when one person leaves the room, the other's always texting or calling somebody.
Yes, I'm sorry, but hold on one second, Zoe. Yes, Gary, the valve stem is building in aortic pressure, and I really need someone with experience just to help give me a temporary measure to stanch the flow so there isn't a full cardiac arrest. Let me call you back. Will you answer? Thanks. Sorry, Zoe, I just had to answer a question about a critical patient, and I want to make sure I handle it right.
It is funny about the cell phone thing, though, isn't it? I guess most of us don't. We should to worry about. I wonder what everyone else calls and texts about. Sometimes I guess I'll text a friend to tell her how the day's going. Water?
Yes, it is water. I have to keep the water flowing to clear out the pipe just to make sure it's draining right. Well, you never know. So let's see. Next item, you really do need a light bulb change. Same bathroom, I see. And the light bulbs would be where?
Lower cabinet in the bathroom.
Ah. When you say lower cabinet, there are 3 lower cabinets in here,
Lower cabinet, not lowest cabinet.
but they're all the same height. Oh, you mean drawer, lower drawer in one of the lower cabinets. Okay, got it. Thanks.
Oh, you should make sure it's the same voltage as the others, or else you need to change them all. I'm gonna go check on dinner. I'll be right back.
Ah!
Oh my God. Are you okay?
Fine. Nothing's wrong. I'm just resting in between tasks. How's dinner? Wait, before you answer that, do you have a mop?
Is everything okay?
Oh, sure. You said you liked someone that did odd jobs around the house, and as they came along, and I think the floor could really use a little cleaning.
Wow. Oh, Roger, that's wonderful. Are you serious? Wow, you're too good to be true. Wow. Well, I have a mop in the storage area downstairs. There's a vacuum up here too. If you want to use that, it's just a small place, so I can't keep everything up here. Well, okay. Why don't I go get the mop? Would you mind keeping an eye on dinner, just making sure nothing burns?
Sure. Gary, Jesus Christ, Gary, I just electrocuted myself. I'm getting out of here. I really am. I'm on a date. That's right. I changed a light bulb and I got up on the counter. The sink is in and the sink overflowed just as I was, right. I got electrocuted. I'm okay, thanks. But the water is overflowing onto the floor and I still don't know how to turn it off. Okay, I tried that though. Okay, I'll try again. Water main? How the hell would I know? It's a goddamn apartment building. No one knows where the water main is. Okay, I'm calm. I'll try again.
So you should ring it out once every few passes and make it go in the same direction so that it doesn't streak.
Oh.
Is the food all right? Nothing's burning?
I sure as hell hope not.
Oh God. Sherry, come on, pick up. Sherry, I'm not sure this is going well at all. He seems nice enough, but I don't think I'd want him as my doctor.
Mhm.
Okay, Sherry, I called you about the dinner I'm making. I'm worried it might burn. And wait, that was what I was worried about. Now I'm worried it won't heat up. I don't know what's wrong. And the vegetables, I need to ask him something about the vegetables. Oh no, he's coming back. Never mind, just text me. Okay, gotta go.
I have to explain something.
Well, what is it?
I'm not handy around the house. In fact, I'm offensively bad at fixing things.
And you're a cardiologist?
I'm almost a cardiologist. I'm a resident and I'll be a fine cardiologist. Because I can perform a stent placement doesn't mean I can repair a water heater or change out the brakes on a car.
You said you were handy. You weren't honest.
I didn't say I was handy. I said I liked to help out around the house. I believe my words were pulling my weight.
Wait a minute, you're getting into semantics. Pulling your weight and helping out around the house mean the same thing. They mean fixing things and doing what a man is supposed to do.
Well, I'm not handy. I can take out the trash. I can make the bed. I can, look, Why am I explaining this to you? I'm not handy. I never said I was handy. You got me to go along with your dating experiment and we didn't work out. All right. So let me explain some things to you before your apartment becomes uninhabitable. I found a way to shut off the water for the faucet, but it's not fixed. You know what I did? I thought I had turned off the water from the valve thing under the sink, but I had turned it the wrong way, and I thought I had turned it the right way, and the mop was for the water that spilled on the floor. The floor is fine. It'll be dry in an hour or so. The water faucet needs to be fixed by your next date, or by a plumber, or maybe a plumber should be your next date. We won't go into my recent electrocution. Here is your list back.
Okay, I understand. But I'm still not sure you were totally honest with me.
I can do a lot of things around the house, just like I said. I still don't know why I'm defending myself to you, and this is probably the last time I'll ever see you.
It's okay. It didn't work out. No hard feelings. I'd offer you dinner, but...
No, I understand. It's time for me to go anyway.
No, that's not what I meant. I would still offer you dinner, but it didn't exactly turn out as planned.
You said you were a great cook.
I never said I was a great cook. I said I'd make you dinner because that's something I believe I should be doing, just like the man should be doing repairs and fixing things.
Well, you implied you were a great cook.
You implied you were a great handyman.
No, I didn't.
I didn't imply I was a great cook.
Look, I'm a cardiologist, so I'm not going to get into your childhood and why you think things should be a certain way. That's for another kind of specialist.
I'm not going to look up what family of wolves raised you so that you can't even change a light bulb.
Well, let's move on. So maybe the dinner turned out better than you thought, and we can still have dinner and say farewell. What didn't go so as planned?
Everything. For one thing, the asparagus. The asparagus is soggy.
Really? You should have blanched it.
What?
You should have blanched the asparagus. You plunge the spears into boiling water for about 30 seconds and plunge them into ice water, and that stops them from overcooking.
Oh, and for another thing, I was making a roast, but it barely cooked.
Was it at room temperature when you put it in the oven?
No, it was cold, I think.
Did you preheat the oven?
Well, yeah,
What temperature?
450 degrees.
Roger opens the oven.
First of all, this is a turkey, not a roast. You want to cook it slowly. You want to slow cook it. I mean, you should have started it after preheating the oven to 250 degrees. And you want to assure you cook so that you attain a Maillard reaction to give it a crust. And you can't expect to cook it in an hour, even if you were going to come up with a barely edible entree.
I tried to follow these different recipes.
You shouldn't be using multiple recipes to cook a single item. Look, this could still be salvageable. Do you have more asparagus? And the turkey isn't a total loss. Let me take over in the kitchen.
You really know what you're doing, don't you?
Yep.
You're really not what I expected at all.
Neither are you.
You go ahead then. I'll handle the stuff on the list.
Sure. You good at all that?
I'm really good at it.
You know, I think I may have my answer to your question.
What question?
Do I know the fastest way to a woman's heart?
We must be making some progress then. What's the answer?
I have no idea.
End of play.
possibility. Turn around.
Start video. I know what you're thinking. You're looking at me and you're saying to yourself, average guy, normal human being, nothing out of the ordinary. Well, that's what I thought too for lots of years. And boy, was I wrong. Now I look back, I think I always knew the truth about myself underneath. It's like sometimes I'd look in the mirror in the morning and I get this weird feeling like what I was looking at was not what I was really looking at all. Or else I'd be standing in a crowd of people at a party. And suddenly I'd get this idea like I was standing in a huge empty space. And there wasn't anybody around me for miles. Episodes of vastation, if you know that beautiful word. And then one day I had I don't know what you'd call it, but I had a mystical experience. I was walking down Lex over in the 30s. When I go past this office supply shop, just a crummy little place. But I turn and I look and I see an Olivetti Model 250 portable electric typewriter. Are you familiar with that particular model? Have you ever seen the old Olivetti 250? Let me tell you, it is sublime. The lines, the shape, the slant of the keyboard. It's a thing of beauty. Anyway, I'm standing there looking at this thing, and it's like I recognize it from somewhere. It's like I'm looking at family somehow. Like I'm seeing some long lost older brother. And for the very first time, I see my old, long lost older brother. And suddenly I realize, that's me. Right there, that thing in the window is exactly what I feel like on the inside. The same lines, the same shape, the same aesthetic. And what I realized was, I am a typewriter. No, really, a typewriter. All those years, I thought I was a human being. On the inside, I was really a portable Olivetti 250 with automatic correctability. And the funny thing is, I can't even tell you. Needless to say, this revelation came as a shock. But all of a sudden, it's clear to me, how come I always got off on words like, big words like vastation, or phenomenological, or subcutaneous. Words are what a typewriter is all about, right? Problem is, it could be a lonely thing being a typewriter in the world of human beings. And now, here I am being replaced every day by word processors. Who needs a typewriter anymore? Here, I finally figure out what I really am. I'm an antique already. Plus, there's my love life, which is problematical to say the least. The difficulties involved in a typewriter finding a suitable partner in this town are fairly prodigious. But I can imagine, at least now I know how come I always loved, well, not just sex. Sex is anywhere, but touch, being touched, touching. Being touched is how we express ourselves as typewriters and the human person along with us. Hands on the keyboard and the right touch. Fire away. Yeah. Women's hands. They're practically the first thing I notice. Nice set of shapely fingers. Good manicure. No hangnails. Soft. I'm not a finger fetishist or anything, you understand, but it's just, you have a pretty nice pair of hands there yourself. That's what I noticed. That's how come I stepped over here to talk to you in the first place. I know this all sounds pretty loony, but you know, I've never told anybody this before. Somehow I felt like I could trust you. And what? I beg your pardon?
It's the paper.
I don't understand. You're not really a girl? Yeah, no, you're a girl. You're a beautiful girl.
I'm a piece of paper.
You're what? You're actually a sheet of paper? 10-pound bond? Ivory tinted?
Yes.
Pure cotton fiber? Pleased to meet you. Okay. So, there we go.
I'm right here.
Richard, let's open up. Anybody have any comments, questions? The actors can stay around for a few minutes and have a little talk back. I think all that's left of the actors. Hey, Carol.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
There we are. Well, very good. I think that went pretty well. Oops, wrong way. There we go.
Comments
I have
or
one
questions?
question.
Yeah.
Did you hear the sound effects?
Yes.
Yes.
Hang on a second. There we go.
In fastest way.
Did you hear the water running? I heard the doorbell. See, I had another laptop open.
I just want to say before everyone drops out, thank you all who are still here for coming, and we really appreciate you guys showing up and supporting us. And as always, you know, it's you guys that we do it for. So thank you very much.
Well said. Lots of fun. Thank you, everybody. Ming, Carol, Ed, Michael, Jack, Hazel.
Tony, Josh, Aruna. Who else do I know here? I knew a few more, but they're already gone.
Fab Five.
And also Walter White here. Walter White is here
I see David.
for all of your meth needs.
All your meth.
Not me. No, not me.
Hey, that was brilliant. Yes.
By the
Thanks
way,
everybody for being in the cast and in the audience, and our production engineer. Have a great night. Have a great Thanksgiving, because I'm signing off. Have a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. And
Thank you,
thanks
Ed.
for letting
Happy
thanks for letting us
Thanks,
do
Bruce.
this for you.
We'll be back.
Great job, all.
Bruce.
Cheers.
Later.
Bye.
thanks.
It was fun seeing everybody. What a great cast.
Bye-bye.
Lovely seeing everybody. Good night.
I'm
Happy
gonna get my real
Thanksgiving.
cocktail.
Blessings to all.
They did.